Hotel family, welcome to lesson number 13, Ma'at Ka Ra. If you find this of any value, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. The primary objective of this course is to be able to read the sacred script of our African ancestors, Medu Neter. Um, we are all students and teachers. Some of you may remember and be familiar with these set of Middle Nature symbols. I'm going to review what we've learned by going through some of these over the next few slides. So the standard approach to translating Middle Nature is to identify the images and transliterate them using the Roman alphabet that we know. So the first thing that we see here is the black ibis bird, and we translate this specific bird with the letters G, M, and say gem or gem. The owl is transliterated with the letter M, and we, in this case, might believe that this M is what we call a phonetic complement. That is the same M that goes with the black ibis bird. The basket with the handle is transliterated with the letter K. So when we put those letters together, we get something like Gamek. The next symbol we see is that of a heart and a windpipe, and it is transliterated with the letters NFR. The horned viper is transliterated with the letter F. And the last symbol in this text is the mouth, and it is transliterated with the letter R. So if I were to try to read this, I would get something like Gem Mek Nefer. Now, translating it is a little more challenging because we see that the ibis bird is translated in English as either look, find, search for, etc. The owl is preposition to, at, for, towards. The basket with the handles translated as you or your. The heart and windpipe is translated as anything good. So that could be good, true, correct, beautiful. And the horned viper is identified as the pronoun he, and the mouth is again identified here as a preposition to, at, from, or concerning. So translating this, I come up with find the beautiful. It is unfortunate that so much of the history of Africa has been written by conquerors, foreigners, missionaries, and adventurers. The Egyptians left the best record of their history written by local writers, Dr. John Henry Clark. That writing is in the form we call Medu Neter. So when we see statues or images of our African ancestors, such as the one we see on the screen, the question that we have to ask ourselves is, do we recognize this African ancestor? Do we know her African name? She actually lived in a place that we call today Egypt, and we can find out who she was. So here's a representation of this female. She is sitting on the throne of Upper and Lower Tamari as the Nasut Biti, or as the pharaoh, as one would say, representative of Upper and Lower Nile Valley during the 18th dynasty. She had this temple on the left built, and this temple was built as a dedication to the Necher Het Heru. So when you look at this African woman, Gem Mek Nefer, On the left, she's shown as having animal prowess and human intellect and spiritual wisdom. On the right, she is shown as a beautiful young woman. Who is she? Gem McNefer. To answer that question, we must read the inscriptions at the lower sides of the statue so that we can properly identify this African ancestor. So as we read Medu Neche, we must take into account the directions from which we have to read. So uh, one section of text is read from left to right, while the other section is read from right to left. Both are read from top to bottom, and in all cases, we read into the face of the animals or the humans or the nature. So looking at the top section on the uh, screen now, we see the uh, pintail duck, the symbol for Ra, and the loaf of bread. So that gives us Sat Ra, or daughter of the sun. Just below that and inside the Shanu, we can see the reed leaf, the menboard, and ripple of water, giving us Amen. Just below that, we have the loaf of bread, the water jug, and the forearm of a lion, which is transliterated H-A-T and pronounced hot. The seated figure is identified as Chapet and is translated as princess, I discovered. The plural strokes would yield the princesses, and we see a better image of the Shanu to the right, where we see Amen, Hat, Shepetu. So starting at the section on the top right, we see the ripple of water and the loaf of bread, which is transliterated as NT, pronounced net. So I could not find what that symbol is in the center, but we have another loaf of bread, and below that is actually the tongue of an ox. The translation that I discovered is belongs to. So we have net Tetson, a TSN, netson belongs to. So again, we see the reed leaf, the men board, ripple of water, but in this case, we have the symbol of Ra behind that. So this would be Amen Ra. Now we have the suit plant, the loaf of bread, the pole with the rag around it, or the flag symboling deity, and we have the plural strokes. This would give us Sut Necheru. So we have the garden hoe with the two reed leaves and the loaf of bread. That gives us Merit. And at the bottom of the text, we have the key of life. We could see a loaf of bread. That would be Ankh-Ankti. And it ends with the horned viper and a loaf of bread transliterated with the FT. So this female's daughter of the sun name is Amen Hat Shepet, and she is identified as Hatshepsut. She belongs to Amen Ra, Suter, Sutneteru, Merit, Ankh, Eft. On the left side of the seated female, we see another Shanu, and it turns out that we can always identify who, not always, but most often we could recognize and identify who we see carved in stone because their Shanu is usually near them. So let's read this new Shanu. All right, here are some familiar Middle Nature symbols we have the cloth wound on a pole, or the flag, which is again the emblem of deity, the loaf of bread, and we have the heart and windpipe. And that gives us Nefer Netjeret. It's Netjeret because of that loaf of bread makes it a feminine. And we have seen this before. We have Neb Taui, which is the Lord of the two lands, Neb Taui. So her Nefer Netjer Neb Taui name is Ma'at Ka Ra. Ma'at Ka Ra. In the bottom piece, we can see the two tongues of land, the garden hoe and the loaf of bread, and that is transliterated as Tameryt, or pronounced Tamerit. And then finally we have Yet, and the cobra with the loaf of bread and the ripple of water, or spoken word. So we know that this is a representation of the same woman because we see her name written in the Chinoo right above her face and forward of her. And it's a little obscure. We are missing some pieces, but as we saw previously, what's in front of the bowl, the loaf of bread, and the two tongues of land is more than likely Nefer Netcher, because that's the way he was identified. That's the way her Ma'ad Karad name was identified. Below that, we have D Ankh, Jed Us. We talked about the D Ankh before. Jed is strength, and Us is somehow translated as health. So, and then the other information that we can see is the folded cloth, the ripple of water, loaf of bread, and the leg and foot. That is Senebti. Senebti is preserve, and we have preserve Ra, Mary, Yeti. So again, we can read. Trying to translate this into English becomes a little bit difficult because of English words didn't exist when the Medo Neter was written. So the challenge with translating into English is again the the deeper meaning that our ancestors suggested is not at hand. So on the right hand, we see the name of Men Ma'at Ra, and that's a Sa Ra name. So we know that this is a male son of the sun, Sa Ra. And on the left hand side, we have the Sat Ra name of Hatshepsut. Her Sat Ra name is Ka, or Ma'at Ka Ra, where Ma'at is truth, balance, order, and the Ka is worship, and Ra is Ra, the sun, and also Ra, the deity. So when we see these names inside of Shannus, they not only tell us the name of the person, but it also identifies their relationship with Ra in most cases. So starting from the left, we have Ka F Ra, Ka F Ra. And in the far right hand side, we have Us Ma'at Ra, Setept in Ra. And in the center, we have Neb Keparu Ra. So there is definitely a strong connection between the names and their understanding of the Netja Ra. So their names also, in my opinion, indicated their representation, or how they represented the Netja. Uh, and here's an example of the Netja Ma'at. And we see her name written as Ma'at. I think this was actually from lesson number 2. So we see Ma'at and we see that she is a Sat Ra. So even Ma'at is the daughter of Ra. And again, we read through this before, but she is in charge of, she is in the head of the um, Garrett, which is the information on the right hand side. And but it's very important to try to make that connection between the symbols and the messages they are conveying. So our ancestors knew that we needed messages, and sometimes they are in text, and sometimes they are just in statues. So I will allow you to read the text here and think about this image. Okay, so we have reached the end of the lesson on Ma'at Kara, and I hope you have learned something. Again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them in the comment. And if you like the video, please share and subscribe. Shem Hotep.